Hello everybody, welcome back to Red Wolf Roundtable here on ASU-TV. You already know who I am. I'm your host, Tristan Harlan, here with my co-host, my good friend, my good compadre, Cooper, the Juicebox Melder. And joining us today is the one we've talked about a lot, the legendary Coach Destinee Rogers. Coach, how are you doing today?
I wouldn't say legendary yet. I'm just getting started, but I hope that that's true someday.
Yes, ma'am. So we got a lot of good things to talk about the women's team itself, having a game, first home game in about 20 days, a couple nights ago, but thank you for being on the show.
Of course. I told you before, and I'll do anything for you, and I'm just excited to be here, excited to talk about our program. Got a big game coming up tomorrow that we're really, really excited about.
Yes, ma'am. So looking at the team right now, did you expect the team to be at this point in the season?
Any head coach would expect their team to be winning at a high level. You want to win every game, right? So for me, I don't really have expectations of, hey, we're going to be at this point at this certain time, because I understand that, a season, conference season, it's a journey. And
Right.
Every journey is going to be different. Every team is going to be different. So what I will say is our journey this year is a lot better than it was last year.
Yes, ma'am.
Through our first 9, we were 1-8. Through our first 9 this year, we're 4-5. So a lot of growth. Really proud of that. Are we where we want to be right now as far as how we feel like we can finish the season? I think we're right there. So it's just showing up every day, continuing to commit to the process of it, continuing to learn, continuing to grow. We won 7 of our last 11 last year. I don't see why we can't do that or even be better to finish conference play going into the tournament this year.
Right.
Coach Rogers, you're coming off a 4-game road stand. Your team went 2-2. Did you expect a tougher fight out of Texas State and Troy?
Yeah, we knew that Texas State was going to give us a battle because, we beat them pretty handily at home. So I knew going into on their home floor that they were going to be ready to go and it was going to be a fight, and it absolutely was. So just really proud of my team for being able to tough out a really tough win on the road. As far as Troy, we beat them at their place last year. It's always a great game. They jumped out on us 15, and my team didn't give up. We continued to fight, and we cut it. And I thought we had an opportunity to win in regulation. We didn't. So again, that's part of that growth, part of the process that this team is going on. Would you like to win that? Of course. I'm a huge competitor. My team is full of competitors. But you know what? If you're going to lose those games, I'd rather lose them at the beginning of the conference than at the end of the conference, and then especially in the tournament.
Right. Speaking of the team, the conference really kind of didn't play a lot of favors for you guys, especially on the road. So looking at playing some of the strongest teams in the conference at their place, how does that make the team stronger, coming back 4 games at home, especially with the conference tournament so close?
Yeah, you can do your fact checking on this, but there's no conference team that's played the toughest road schedule that we've played in conference. There's no one that can say that they played James Madison and Marshall in the same week on the road, and then also ULM and Troy same week on the road. No one's done that. So for me, I don't use that as an excuse. I don't say, hey, well, we had a tough one. No, we use that as motivation and growth for us. We learned a lot in those 4 games, and honestly, in my opinion, I think we should have won 3 out of 4. We had our chances in those, but we didn't get the job done in those games. There was a lot to learn from it, and so again, you want to learn those lessons early on in conference play, so that when we see them again on our home floor, it's a different story.
Right.
And then also if you see them at the tournament, obviously you've learned those mistakes. You don't make those same mistakes in the tournament.
Right.
Speaking of your team, Coach Rogers, in my opinion, you have the best player in the conference in Izzy Higginbottom. So when she's clicking on all cylinders, does that just make, the team play better and just kind of your job a little bit easier, not having to do too much?
Yeah, we want all of our kids to be confident and play freely, and Izzy is just one of those big pieces to what we do offensively. So when she's playing freely and not only just scoring, you got to look at how many assists she gets. She's leading our team in assists right now. So having the ability to put the ball in her hands, and she's either going to score or she's going to make the right play. I think she prides herself in making her teammates better. So absolutely, when she's playing confidently, I think that we are at our best. But that's just not about Izzy. We want all of them to be free in who they are and what they bring to the table. That's just how our offense works. We think that we can make anywhere from 8 to 10 threes a game. We only made 5 last game, so I'm pretty excited about tomorrow because because we're going to get a lot of opportunities to shoot the 3 ball. I think that's a high percentage shot for us. So the message to our team every day is we want everybody to be free. We want everybody to be confident. If you get a shot, we want you to knock it down. But it just comes down to, just having a team that can play well together and also feed off of each other.
Right, and you talk about the team being confident. Lauren, for example, she's scoring just over 10 points a game this season. So, and this is kind of something we touched on last week on the show. Would you classify her as a definite number 2 scoring option to Izzy, or is there someone else in that rotation that makes your offense more pivotal in the stretch?
She's absolutely a big-time option for us offensively, and honestly, it varies on the game. If LA's having a great game, she could be our number 1 option.
Right.
If Izzy's having a great game, she could be our 1 option. Anna could be our 1 option, and that's the beautiful thing about this team. I don't have to rely on just one person. We have multiple scoring threats that can really shoot it from the 3 or get to the rim and finish at the rim or get to the free throw line. And that's why I love coaching this team, because we have so many weapons that we can use. So, she is a big part of what we do. Definitely someone that we look to score for us. But like I said, she could be 2, she could be 1. It really depends on who's cooking that night.
Right.
Yes, Coach Rogers, Melody Kopinga was a big part of y'all's offense last season. How was the transition when she got hurt? How has the offense been able to transition around new faces on the team?
Yeah, she struggled a lot, with injuries even now. She gave it her best shot and, was just still not feeling 100%. So obviously she was a big piece to what we did last year. But she was the only big that we had, so we understood that we had to go out and address that with recruiting. So we went out and got 3 other bigs to kind of help us out in that paint. I love our size this year. We're winning the rebounding war a lot more this year because of the size. So it just goes back to practice, just continuing to work on, the things that you want to work on. I like that we have a mobile big and then we have physical bigs. So we run a lot of 4 out, 1 in, which really favors the more mobile big, and then we have some ball screen offensive stuff that favors the physical big. So just being able to have those options is great for us because it doesn't limit us offensively.
Right, and like Cooper was saying, the different pieces that you guys have on the offense, one of them being your sister.
Yeah.
We talked about that a little bit about a month or so ago, but just looking at the grand scheme of things of college athletics as a whole with the transfer portal and how different things are, how has the team been able to blend together with such new faces like Winter, like Kendra from Baylor, and just people like that?
Well, it's important that you recruit good people. Everyone wants great players, but you also got to find great people, great students. Because you can go get talent and it may be a headache. But for my team, I feel like we have a team full of, great kids that are willing to blend, that are willing to be a team, that want to work together and they want to win. And they show up every day and they compete and practice. And obviously we're all human. We have our days, right?
Right.
But they, for the most part, they show up every day. They want to be good. They want to win. They listen. They allow me to coach them. And I truly feel like I have, that good relationship with my team that, when I speak to them, they listen, and vice versa. If they have concerns, they can bring those concerns to me as well.
Right.
Coach Rogers, you're talking about how and we think you're just a great coach, and you're talking about how your team rallies around you. Earlier this year, you posted a Twitter clip of yourself mic'd up talking to your team when they were up big. They let a team come back in the game, and you're like, I'm not freaking out, I'm calm. And NBA star Isaiah Thomas retweeted that. What was your thoughts when he acknowledge the coach that you are in for Arkansas State women's basketball?
Yeah, well, I was a point guard in college and in high school, and I understand the importance of being calm and poised in those situations. So that's just me trying to use my lessons that I learned as an athlete and just try to pour into my team. And, obviously he is a great point guard and someone that I watched a lot. And so it was really exciting for me to see him retweet that and quote tweet it and, share some nice words. But for me, it really wasn't about, I didn't think that it would go viral. Like, this is just me trying to be genuine in who I am. So I'm always mic'd up. I got bad clips of me and I got good clips of me. I'm just being honest. So we do that because I want recruits to see who I really am in the heat of the moment, who I really am in the locker room, who I am if we're not playing well and I have to kind of get at my team. So that's just me just trying to put out genuine, raw footage, content of how I coach, my coaching style, and hopes that people will really get to know the real me.
Right, and speaking of social media, you're very active on social media. When you are, sometimes you take breaks. But how is that kind of differentiation? How is that kind of approached this season for you as a focal point on social media, just to tell your team like, hey, just because we have this platform doesn't mean you need to go out there and post everything under the sun.
Yeah, I'm a woman of faith, and I believe that God has a tremendous plan for this team. And I'm glad I'm saying this on camera because I do believe that with my whole heart. I'll stand in front of a room of 100 people that don't believe what I'm saying, and I'll look at them and I'll tell them I believe that my team can win out. I believe that my team can win the tournament. That's the belief that I have in my team. And I just had a strong feeling going into conference that he was telling me to step away from social media and really focus on the team and focus on my relationship with him. So you got to be obedient to that when you feel like you're being led to do something. So I love social media. I think it's a great way to get information out there about yourself and your team. For me personally right now, it's best for me to focus on myself and my team because I do believe that, even though it might not look like it right now, I truly believe we're going to finish strong, and I truly believe we're going to have a strong showing in the tournament.
Right.
Coach Rogers, we've had some okay crowds, some better crowds for y'all's games, but how does a fuller crowd affect y'all's team? Do y'all just rally around the fan base a lot more?
Yeah, every team wants a big crowd, and I have to be appreciative of the people who do show up every game. I do think that it could be a lot better because we'll play our game just for double headers. Talk about double headers, we'll play our game. And I know we have the 5 o'clock tip, but we don't have fans really show up until halftime, and then you see the guys' game, and then it's full. Yeah. And as they should support our guys. Coach Hodson is doing a great job with our men's team, and obviously we know the growth is going to be big time there, but also I think that we deserve that same support. We've made a lot of growth. We have a lot of great players. We have players from Arkansas, and so I just want people to get excited about coming to a women's basketball game and help rally us to some wins.
Right, and I guess my last one for you, Coach, is, who's kind of been the surprising factor on your roster this year? Sometimes different faces make different plays at different points of the season. So really, who's kind of been that face that you've kind of said, oh, okay, you do got that dog in you?
Yeah, I would say the biggest, and not talking about my returners, because my returners have really stepped up in a big time way this year and really grown from last year. So I'll just speak about a newcomer that's supremely surprised me, and that's Cheyenne Forney. When we were in the summer, I didn't expect her to play a whole lot. I knew that, not that she didn't have the potential, I just knew she had some learning and some growing to do. And she got an opportunity against Louisiana Tech, and she snatched that opportunity. She hasn't looked back yet. We were looking at her stats, and right now, as far as the country, there's only, I think it's 3 to 4 people that their field goal percentage is higher than hers right now.
Wow.
Her field goal percentage is 67% from the field right now. And there was, you have to fact check me, but I'm sure there was only 3 to 4 people above her right now. And this is a kid who is nowhere near her best basketball yet. So I thought that was pretty cool for us to kind of look up that stat. But she's so mobile. She helps us out defensively. She can finish around the rim. And then another person I'll talk about Winter. No, she's not playing the way I would like her to play offensively right now. As far as her confidence, that's just going to come. She's kind of like a freshman on the floor right now. But defensively, she's huge for us. She's big. She's our best rebounder. She's our leading rebounder. She could come up with big stops down the stretch. And just being big sis, I'm on her pretty tough because I know how special she is. I know that she's a winner, but just super proud of how our team fights game in and game out. And, we're calling tomorrow hump day. So I told my team, we're not to the point yet where we're over that hump, where we're beating the top teams in the league. We get an opportunity tomorrow where we're playing one of the top teams, and I truly think that tomorrow is hump day, where we finally get over the hump and we're able to beat one of the top teams in our league.
Right. And Coach Rogers, my final question, I'm glad you brought it up. ODU tomorrow, it's going to be a big game. When you're playing these bigger, better teams, do y'all keep the game plan simple, or do y'all try to mix it up a little bit to throw out there something that ODU may have not seen in film?
You know, every head coach is different. For me, it's all about us. I don't want to change up our game too much to try to fit what someone else is doing. I think that when we're playing at the best of our abilities and we're kind of doing what we do offensively and defensively, I think we're hard to beat. The issue right now is we have to do it consistently for 40 minutes. So really excited about the opportunity tomorrow. I just keep telling our kids, I know that time is coming where we're going to finally get over that hump, and I don't think we're going to look back when we get over that hump. So for us, it's playing fast offensively, trying to get to the paint, trying to shoot threes and layups. But if the mid-range shot is there, we want to take those as well, trying to get to the free throw line as much as we can. And then defensively, you know, we talk about being in the gaps, which is being able to keep players out of the paint when they're driving, having great closeouts, boxing out, rebounding. You know, if we stick to our principles and we're really good at those things and elite at those things, we feel good about it.
Right. Well, Coach, at least for us here at Rebel
Yes.
Roundtable, we do want to extend a good luck in your game tomorrow against ODU. And, you know, you never know. We may have to show up and watch some film with you guys so we can expand our knowledge of the game of basketball.
Come
But
on.
again, thank you so much for being
Yes,
out
thank
here.
Thank you for having me.
Coming
Thank you
on the
for having
show.
me.
We'll have to, you know, you never know. You may come back and get your own segment on the show.
Yes.
You
Let's
never
do
know.
it. Let's do it.
But, guys, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to recap some of the more doubleheader games around the Sun Belt Conference. We'll be right back after this.
I think one of the things I learned at Arkansas State was life is 10% of what happens to you, 90% of how you respond to it, and that's just something that I live by.
A-State is home, and they're going to treat you like you're a part of the family.
When you say experience counts, it's experience that counts for a lifetime.
Boxes, I cannot fit in the boxes. Stop it, quitting was never an option. Exhausted, this passion is never exhausted. And you cannot stop it, nah, you cannot stop it. Quitting was never an option. And you cannot stop it, nah, you cannot stop it.
I think one of the things I learned at Arkansas State was life is 10% of what happens to you, 90% of how you respond to it, and that's just something that I live by.
A-State is home, and they're going to treat you like you're a part of the family.
Welcome back to Red Wolf Roundtable here on ASU-TV again. We just want to give a special thank you to Coach Rogers for coming on the show. But now, let's go ahead and recap the game that she just had, and that was a couple nights ago in First National Bank Arena.
Yes, you know, it was a big time win. You know, before the game, they honored Izzy on the Sun Belt logo. She scored 1,000 career points. And if you're following us on Instagram, you would have known that she scored 1,000 points a week ago or so.
Yeah, against Texas State.
So I'm going to give a little shout out to our Instagram, plug it in. So if you want to be the first to hear all the great news about Arkansas State, be sure to follow us. But, you know, it was a big time win, and the game started at 5, and, you know, I do not like those 5 o'clock tips.
Yeah, I don't neither. I'm a fan of later games just because it gets more people into the arena itself. But it just doubleheaders to me just feel so rushed. You know, I get it. You know, you got to get these games going. You got to get them off the schedule for conference alignment and conference scheduling. But the biggest thing is when you look at it from the grand scheme of things, you know, doubleheaders just aren't the biggest fan of the conferences.
Yeah, especially on a Wednesday, 5 o'clock on a Wednesday, you do have, you might be going to church or something like that. But, we got the highlights up, and right away, we just absolutely dominated South Alabama from the get-go. You had Anna, she was doing great. Lauren, she was getting to the basket, and Izzy had another tremendous night.
Right, speaking of Izzy Higginbottom, she really was that dynamic force that we've seen all year long, able to put points on the board, really get her team and the rest of the team really rolling to beat a South Al team that hadn't won a conference game, Hopefully they find that stride later on, not against us, but really the game was a big factor of who wants it more. There's a little point of it where maybe South Al could have edged it out, maybe could have snuck in a quick victory, but just the attitude of the women's basketball team really sealed the victory for this team. We had Lauren, she kind of got a little chippy with one of the players there towards the end, swiping the ball away, but it was really a tell of, okay, this team and this team, one team really should be number one in the conference, the other one's still finding that conference win, and they just got outdogged.
Yes, they really did. Izzy tied her career high with 35 points, and she also had 14 free throws, went 14 for 14 from the line that game. That's just absolutely insane, 14 free throws, making all of them. But it was just one of those games when South Alabama, they were finding their stride, They had their center knocking down those mid-ranges like it was going out of style. I mean, just top of the key, bang, 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 got them back in the game, but the fight and will of this A-State team, they never let them get close enough to even think about winning that game.
Right, and we've been talking about Izzy Higginbottom a little bit, and we started something new on social media for Red Wolf Roundtable, and it's a Red Wolf Roundtable Player of the Week. And of course, you can't start a Player of the Week thing without giving credit to where credit's due. Izzy Higginbottom, congratulations. If you're watching, you are the inaugural Player of the Week for Red Wolf Roundtable. Shout out Will Stafford for the beautiful graphic.
Yes, and so the thoughts, why did we pick Izzy for a Player of the Week? Well, you just have to look at the past two games for Izzy. These past two games where she has been doing just tremendously well. She's been doing great. Past two games, she hasn't missed a free throw, first of all. Hasn't missed a single free throw. She had 34, and then, like I said, she had 35 points. So she's just been firing on all cylinders, and, who else but giving Izzy the Red Wolf Roundtable Player of the Week.
Right. So. And the biggest thing is when we talk about Player of the Week, it's not just for individual performance. Of course, it does have a heavy factor in it, but it's just a teammate thing, and you never know who could win. Lauren can win it next week. Somebody from the men's team can win it the week after that, or even a tennis player.
Yes.
Even a softball player. The opportunities are endless here at Red Wolf Roundtable. But the biggest thing is, and why this kind of thing started was, there was just one thing that I felt like the show was missing. We talk about these teams, we talk about the teams, we talk about the players so much, but we don't honor anybody. We criticize, we not ridicule, but we kind of go to a diver depth. But we needed to honor one of the players. So again, congratulations to Izzy Higginbottom, the inaugural Player of the Week for Red Wolf Roundtable. But Cooper, we're gonna take another timeout. We're gonna take another step away. When we come back, we're gonna talk about some men's basketball. And Coach Hodson, man, he got fired up after the ULM loss. Stick around.
I think one of the things I learned at Arkansas State was life is 10% of what happens to you, 90% of how you respond to it, and that's just something that I live by.
A-State is home, and they're going to treat you like you're a part of the family.
When you say experience counts, it's experience that counts for a lifetime.
Boxes, boxes, I cannot fit in the boxes. Stop it, quitting was never an option. Exhausted, this passion is never exhausted. And you cannot stop it, nah, you cannot stop it. was never an option.
Welcome back to Red Wolf Roundtable. Before we went to break, we talked about Coach Hodson a little bit. And, you know, the men's basketball team, they suffered a very heartbreaking loss against ULM, Cooper's favorite Sun Belt Conference team. And
Don't even get me started.
Coach Hodson had some words for his team in the post-game presser to Red Wolf Sports Network. So let's go ahead and take a listen to what he had to say and how fired up he really was after that loss.
We're just a bad basketball team right now. We're just a bad basketball team that doesn't know how to win. Definitely do not know how to win on the road. 15-point lead at halftime. I don't think I had the right guys out there at the right time. We let number 4 just single-handedly take over the game with 2 threes late. We missed clutch free throws again after we were perfect at the line. We get to the line, we missed clutch free throws. They came out and kicked our butt in the second half. We didn't guard them. We're soft. It starts with me. I'm coaching a soft team, which makes me soft. We're not disciplined enough to execute a game plan for 40 minutes. Our preparation's obviously not where it needs to be. I got out-coached today, and so I've got to fix it.
Coach Hodson really was very fired up.
Yeah, he went into the team, you know, he was calling his players soft. He was like, you know, I was a bad coach because I put the wrong players out there at the wrong time. I got out coach. I need to do better. My team needs to do better. And he just lit a fire into his team. And it showed Wednesday night when they got that big win over USM.
Yeah, Southern Miss came into town, and, you know, Southern Miss has kind of had a downfall as of late. They ended James Madison's undefeated streak earlier in the year, and they came to Jonesboro looking for an easy win against some easy Red Wolves, and it just didn't turn out that way.
No, they didn't. It was a closer game at the end, but you have to make your free throws. We're going to see this in a little bit, but the Red Wolves, they really struggled from the free throw line. They shot like 65%, and when you're shooting 65% from free throw land, it's not going to be winning too many games. They came away with it, but, you know, they have been struggling with free throws, it seems, all year has been a big problem, and it's why they have been losing those close road games.
Right, and you know, shout out Darren Ford real quick. He had a great showing against the Southern Miss team, but really a surprising factor to me, and I'm glad he's starting to hit his stride more, is Julian Lewell. Julian Lewell last season, I don't think could hit a 3 to save his life. If the death beam from the aliens was on the fate of the earth, Julian Lewell would have been the last person I wanted to shoot an open 3. But this season, he stepped it up, and he's hitting a lot of more shots. You know, shout out to him for being able to do that. But one of the biggest things for this team that I've realized is once you give them just a little bit of rope, they're going to take a mile, if not more, just because they don't like being called out, especially by their head coach.
Yes, you know, they really rallied around that crowd. You know, Southern Miss, they were making that comeback late in the second half when we were up 14, and it was just like every time we got that big lead, we just kept losing it. But they kept going, and, you know, it was big offensive rebounds at the end of the game. Like, we missed a free throw, we got the offensive board, and then kicked it right out to, you were talking about him, De'Aaron Ford, and he hit a big corner 3 that really just brought the crowd into the game. And, you know, I'm glad to find that we're finally seeing the potential De'Aaron Ford has, because at the beginning of the season, you know, everybody's looking at him. He was the Gatorade Player of the Year out of high school, expecting big things. He's finally living up, finally finding his stride.
Right. Darian Ford really was a bit of a worry early on in the year, just like the rest of the team, because the three-pointers.
Yes.
The three-pointers have completely changed the way this offense runs, especially coming from last season, more of a give-and-go inside look. But now this team has lived and died by the three. And it's not nothing against them because it's different style of play from different styles of coaches. But when you shoot as many threes as this team is shooting and you're not really hitting as many threes as you want, you really just don't need to keep on shooting, if that makes sense, especially when you take a look at how many shots this team has really taken.
Yeah, this team, you're looking at it, they have attempted 631 threes this year. They have made 218. solid 35%. That's not bad as a team, almost shooting about 10 threes per game. But, you know, Coach Hodson, he's bringing the deep ball, and really this has helped Avery Felts out in a big way. You've seen Avery Felts last year. He would only get 10, 15 minutes per game just because it wasn't their style of play, till now he's starting in the lineup and he's playing about 30 minutes of the 40.
Well, and you know, speaking of the three-pointers, you really got to look at Zay, too.
Yes.
Isaiah Nelson. He's trying to get a shot down, and it's coming. But the biggest thing with Isaiah Nelson is he just fouls too much.
He does.
Isaiah Nelson, he is a dynamic threat inside with DeAndre Dominguez. But why on earth are you averaging or scoring 15 points a game, but when it comes down to the fourth quarter, when your team needs a block inside, needs a key defensive rebound, you're sitting on the bench because you've already accumulated enough fouls to be fouled out? And look, I get it. Things happen. I'm not saying I can go out there and do what he's doing, but what I am saying is for as dynamic and electric of a player that Isaiah Nelson is, the dude just fouls a whopping too much. And again, I love the dude. He's a great friend. Hopefully we get him on the show someday.
Yes.
But the fouls have just got to stop.
And, you know, when he fouled out this past game, he got put out. He had 4 fouls. You know, Coach Hodson brought him back in, and the very first defensive possession, he got a foul. But the only problem is, I don't think he realized he had 5 fouls, because when he got told he fouled out, he was in shock.
Right. And here's the thing, especially when you're looking at the total stats from the Southern Miss game. We're shooting very well from the field. You know, the free throws, they're free, so you got to hit more of those. But the biggest thing is it's just got to click.
Yes.
I get it. First year head coach, growing pains are prevalent. You're gonna see them, especially in the middle point of the season where we currently are now, maybe towards the tail end. But my biggest issue, and again, I know a lot of people are not gonna like what I'm gonna say, but my biggest thing is why does this team have so much hype, but they don't ever seem to capitalize on it? Mm-hmm. And again, I love this team. I think they're one of the most talented teams in the Sun Belt. But when you have a guy like DeAndre Dominguez and a guy like Isaiah Nelson, 2 dynamic threats who are very tall, who can very easily put the ball in the hoop, why does this team seem to crumble, especially on the road?
Yeah, I think we mentioned it last week. They feed with the home crowd energy, and we've just seen it. When they're at home, they're a completely different team. But when they're on the road, they can't make their free throws. They're not in sync. But, you know, Tristan, that's all the time we have for this segment. We have one more coming up. We're going to be looking at upcoming games. So stick around. You're watching Red Wolf Roundtable here on ASU-TV.
I think one of the things I learned at Arkansas State was life is 10% of what happens to you, 90% of how you respond to it, and that's just something that I live by.
A-State is home, and they're going to treat you like you're a part of the family.
When you say experience counts, it's experience that counts for a lifetime.
Boxes, I cannot fit in the boxes. Stop it, quitting was never an option. Exhausted, this passion is never exhausted. And you cannot stop it, nah, you cannot stop it. Quitting was never an option. And you cannot stop it, nah, you cannot stop it.
And welcome back to Red Wolf Roundtable here on ASU-TV. And you know, we talked about the men's team a little bit. We talked about the women's team a little bit. But now let's talk about some upcoming games for both these squads.
Yes. So We have another doubleheader. I mean, it
Yay.
seems like we have just doubleheader after doubleheader. And it starts at noon for the women's as they're going to be taking on ODU. Old Dominion, it's going to be a big-time game. Old Dominion, they're one of the better teams in the conference. And like Coach Roger was saying, this will be a big-time win and really to get them back on track and to getting that top seed.
Right, and you just got to look at the tail of the tape to understand the importance of this one. ODU coming in to this one with a 7-3 record in league play. But this team scored more than ODU, and that's you love to see it. But the points allowed, that's where you kind of see sort of the really red flag, so to speak, is they're allowing just as many points as ODU scoring.
Yes. So ODU, they're going to be, the slower tempo type of play. They're going to really want to control the game, whereas the Red Wolves were up tempo. We want to score quick. We want to get inside. So it's really going to be which style of play comes out on top. If the Red Wolves can control the tempo of the game, I feel like we could come out with the quote-unquote upset. I won't be calling it upset because if we win, it's going to be expected because that's just how great a team we have.
Right, and speaking of this team, really, and I kind of want to get your thoughts on this, but the spotlight that Izzy's having, she's a dynamic scorer, but she's starting to gain a lot of attention from around the different media channels on Twitter, Instagram, whatever. But do you think that is starting to or could possibly affect the team in a bad or negative light?
I don't think so. Coach Rogers, she has her team really, you're seeing it 34, 35, 8, 5, 5, and 4. But Coach Rogers, she has her team where she wants them. They rally around her. So I feel like all this could be all positive for the team because at the end of the day, you're getting publicity for your team. Izzy, yeah, she might be getting a lot of it, but it's also showing, hey, watch the Red Wolves. If you want to see Izzy Higginbottom, see the rest of the team that's out there playing because like Coach Roger was saying, it's not just a one-person team; it's a whole team.
Right, and really too, and you make you make a good point for that. But the biggest thing is, we live in a world where in college athletics, if you get too much publicity,
yes,
then maybe that thought starts to creep in. Okay. Maybe I could go back to the SEC, or maybe you could go back to a bigger conference and really test the waters there. Not saying that's going to happen or anything, but the biggest thing too is got a little attitude problem that we talked about a little bit earlier, and I kind of want to get your thoughts on it. Do you think the attitudes that's starting to brew for this team is good for them?
Oh yeah, I think it's showing their identity of the game. I like, there's some things where you can be like, you have an attitude and it's just kind of ruining your team, affecting your team badly. But I feel like this attitude, quote unquote, to say, is really, kind of the identity of this team. They're going to be out there grit and grind type of style play. And I feel like it just fits them as a personality as a whole.
Right. The new grit and grind is today's Nets ain't free. But,
yes.
Speaking of doubleheader, there's another game coming up against your favorite team, the ULM Warhawks, baby.
Don't even get me started. I despise everything about the team, from their logo to those awful yellow mustard-looking color with a terrible, terrible red, whatever you're going to call that. But 7-13, we have no reason to lose to them last week. Right. But this game, we're going to go out there, we're going to beat them by 45.
Somebody clip it. Chat, clip it. But, hopefully this team, the men's team, real quick, can, come over that hump. There's a lot of games that they should have won, especially down late. But, next week, just looking ahead a little bit.
Yes.
We have another surprise guest coming on the show.
We do.
Someone that has helped out the show in many ways behind the scenes, taking some really cool pictures of us. But Lauren Pendleton, she's going to come on the show, talk about all things Arkansas State athletics and A-State basketball. But Cooper, I think it's time to go prep for the doubleheader with you and Creative, me at ESPN. Yep. But we hope you guys enjoyed this week's edition of Red Wolf Roundtable. Remember to follow us on all social media platforms. We'll see you guys next week.